Download and upload more than ever before with an ultra-fast fiber connection. With 3 simple steps, you can be the one with an SLT fiber optic connection. Visit slt.lk.
No hiccups. The International Monetary Fund welcomes Sri Lanka's efforts to bring the economic reform program back on track. Momentous slide. The S&P 20 marks its largest daily loss in points in the history of the Colombo Bourse. Acquittals and arrests. Venerable Uduwe Dhammaloka Thera acquitted while JVP Politburo member KD Lalkantha ends up in cuffs. A first for Asia. Minister of Sports Harin Fernando reveals of a draft to slap a 5-year prison term on match fixers. All that and much more coming up on First at 9 this Friday, the 1st of March 2019.
From Ada Derana, this is Ada Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to First at 9 on Ada Derana 24, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. The International Monetary Fund has agreed to extend Sri Lanka's $1.5 billion loan program by 1 year and has reached a staff-level agreement to disperse the 6th tranche of the loan. Releasing a media communique yesterday, the IMF said that following their visit to the island earlier this month, the international monetary body welcomed the government's ongoing efforts to bring the economic reform program back on track following the political turmoil of late last year. Now, it however added that since the program suffered a setback, the primary fiscal surplus target as well as the foreign exchange reserve target fell short in December last year and has called for the authorities' commitment to revive the reform momentum.
A staff team from the International Monetary Fund led by Manuela Goretti visited Colombo between the 14th and 28th of this month to resume discussions on the 5th review under Sri Lanka's economic reform program, supported by a 3-year extended fund facility arrangement. Issuing a media communique following their visit, the IMF said that the team reached understandings at the staff level with government authorities and their request to extend the EFF arrangement for an additional year. In order to accommodate this, the IMF agreed to spread the remaining disbursements evenly over the requested period to allow more time for the completion of the economic reform agenda. The IMF went on to say that subject to the planned submission of the EFF-supported program to Parliament via the 2019 budget, the board is expected to consider Sri Lanka's request for completion of the 5th review in May this year. Touching on the economy, the IMF stated that the economy is gradually stabilizing and the real GDP growth is expected to improve to about 3.5% this year from 3% last year, while inflation expected to reach 4.5%. Furthermore, the current account deficit is expected to narrow in 2019, benefiting from the correction in the exchange rate. The IMF further noted that since the program performance suffered a setback in the second half of last year, the primary fiscal surplus fell short of program targets in December, largely due to weak revenues. The foreign exchange reserve target was also missed by a sizable margin. The communique went on to say that a concerted effort is needed by all stakeholders to preserve the hard-won gains of the economic reform program. They went on to say renewed efforts to improve transparency, accountability and cost efficiency of large state-owned enterprises are needed to help safeguard fiscal sustainability and catch up with delays in reform implementation. The IMF further noted that authorities should move forward with plans to bring Sri Lankan Airlines on a sound commercial and financial footing and complete energy pricing reforms to address rising fiscal risks. The communique added that the CBSL should continue to maintain a prudent and data-dependent monetary policy, standing ready to tighten policy rates should inflationary pressures re-emerge. The team urged the authorities to finalize the amendments to the Monetary Law Act with a view to strengthen the CBSL's mandate, decision-making structures, autonomy, accountability and transparency in the roadmap towards inflation targeting.
President Maithripala Sirisena met with representatives of several political parties at the Presidential Secretariat last night. Speaking to media following the meeting, parliamentarian of Tamil National Alliance, M.A. Sumandaran, said that a new constitution was the topic of discussion.
Parliamentarians of the United National Party, Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Sri Lanka Muslim Congress and the Tamil National Alliance were present for a meeting last evening, which was held under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. As those party to the talks made their way out following the talks, TNA MP M.A. Sumandaran had this to say.
Our Sambandan
met with the President last week and told him that some of the election pledges given in 2015 are yet to be fulfilled. They also discussed as to how the two reports compiled on the Constitution can be implemented. That is why this meeting was called today. During the meeting, Sambandan said that although we had discussions on devolution of power through the Constitution and the ethnic issue for more than 30 years, we failed to come to a conclusion. He added that therefore we should have a resolution for these issues at least this year. During the discussion, everyone agreed that there is an argument regarding the executive presidency and the electoral system. Eventually, we decided we should have further discussions on strengthening provincial councils. Yes, we discussed that draft, which was compiled by specialists. Through discussions, we all accepted that there are no disputes regarding the method of devolving power. There is a set of proposals put forth by the chief ministers and leaders of the opposition in the all 7 provincial councils, except for northern and eastern provincial councils. During yesterday's meeting, we also decided that those proposals can be taken into consideration.
President Maithripala Sirisena today visited the Apeksha Hospital in Maharagama in view of the World Oral Cancer Day. A national program to counter oral cancer was launched at a special event at the hospital. The President later called on the patients receiving in-house treatment for oral cancer. Meanwhile, the head of state inspected the Polgola Reservoir yesterday to observe the newly established operational centre for all dams and reservoirs by the Mahawali Authority. The centre controls operations of dams and reservoirs of Polgola, Victoria, Madroya, Kotmale, Randanigala, Moragahakanda, Kaluganga as well as Uma Oya. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe believes that media is not giving some of the government's projects their due exposure. Addressing the flagship event in unveiling 200 school buildings constructed under the national program Nearest School is the Best School in Kuliapitiya today, the Premier questioned the public's awareness of the initiative.
The ceremony to declare open 200 new buildings constructed at 200 schools under the national program of Nearest School is the Best School was held under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today.
This government does not boast but work quietly, which in turn benefits the public. In which country did 200 school buildings unveil at once? How many of you are aware of it? People who cannot do such things just scream. I only attended this ceremony, and there are 199 more which will be declared open by others. I doubt whether the media would air this. I bet that the media will only air the event in Kuliapitiya but not other events. If they air this, we can expect heavy rain.
Many projects under the program Nearest School is the Best School, which is a concept of Minister of Education Akila Viraj Karyavasam, was vested with the students today. Accordingly, the new 3-storied building of St. Joseph's College, Kuliapitiya, and the modernized auditorium at Saranath Vidyalaya, also in Kuliapitiya, were declared open. The building of the administrative unit of the Kuliapitiya Zonal Education Office and a professional development centre for teachers were also unveiled by Prime Minister Wickremesinghe.
High Commissioner of India Taranjit Singh Sandhu met with opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa at his official residence this morning, where matters pertaining to the current status of Indo-Pakistan relations were discussed. With the Pulwama attack spurring regional attention, the Indian High Commissioner highlighted that India does not face political and economic issues with Pakistan, and their sole objective is to defeat terrorism. The opposition leader expressed regret that the current government did not continue with the Sampur coal power plant, which was a project which was launched following an MOU inked between Sri Lanka and India during his presidency. Venerable Uduwe Dhammalokatera today was acquitted from the case filed against him over the alleged possession of an elephant calf. The Colombo High Court today delivered the verdict stating lack of evidence against the Thera. The case against Venerable Uduwe Dhammalokatera was filed by the Attorney General in 2016 for the alleged illegal possession of an elephant calf without a valid permit at the Alanmattaniya Rama Temple in Polhengoda. The attorney representing the Attorney General said that the verdict will be appealed. Politburo member of Janata Vimukti Peramuna K. D. Lalkantha was arrested by Anuradhapura police over a motor collision today. Police media spokesperson SP Ruwangunasekara stated that the collision occurred along the Anuradhapura Kurunagala main road at around 2:45 this afternoon. SP Gunasekara added that the JVP member was under influence of alcohol at the time of the incident. The cab driven by Lalkantha reportedly crashed against a motorcycle, injuring 2 women. Now, according to police, the 2 injured women were hospitalized and are currently receiving treatment. Meanwhile, Colombo Fort Magistrates Court today issued open warrants to be executed through Interpol for the arrest of 5 major drug dealers, including Moril and Kosgoda Suji in Dubai, in connection with the largest ever heroin haul discovered in Sri Lanka. Now, Interpol is to issue blue notices for the arrest of the Dubai-based Sri Lankan drug traffickers who are suspected to have sent the heroin haul to Sri Lanka. Now, on the February 23rd, the Special Task Force and the Police Narcotics Bureau seized 295 kilograms of heroin at the car park of a supermarket in Kollupitiya. It is considered to be the largest stock of heroin ever seized in Sri Lanka, while 2 suspects were arrested. When the case filed against the 2 suspects arrested along with the heroin haul was taken up for hearing today, the Police Narcotics Bureau informed court that interrogation of the suspects had uncovered that the heroin haul was sent to Sri Lanka by 5 major drug traffickers, including Kosgoda Suji, who are currently in hiding in Dubai. The 2 suspects arrested in Sri Lanka with the drugs were further remanded until the 15th of March. Meanwhile, the Dubai court has decided to further remand drug kingpin Markandre Madush, Singh Amal Pereira and others for another month. They were arrested recently during a party at a hotel in Dubai for drug-related offences. Speaking to Ada Derana legal counsel of the artist Amal Pereira, attorney-at-law Shabdika Vallapilli said that the Dubai court will decide if charges will be filed following the results of their medical reports. Meantime, on a separate note, the Divisional Crimes Investigation Unit of Palagoda Police today arrested 2 suspects in connection with aiding and abetting a robbery of gems and diamonds worth 7 billion rupees. The suspects were identified as 2 28-year-olds residing in Ranala and Kaduwala. Interrogations have uncovered that a relative of one of the suspects is a close associate of Markandre Madush. Let's now take a look at some of these emerging stories making news across Sri Lanka.
14 Chinese nationals who entered Sri Lanka on tourist visa have been arrested for violating immigration and immigration regulations. The Chinese nationals were arrested in the area of Dadella in Galle on Wednesday for working in Sri Lanka without valid permits. According to the police, the suspects are between the ages of 22 to 56 years. The National Water Supply and Drainage Board announced an 18-hour water cut from 9 a.m. tomorrow to 3 p.m. on Sunday in several areas of Colombo. Accordingly, the water supply will be suspended for Colombo 13, 14 and 15. 3 persons were arrested by the Crimes Investigation Unit of Palagoda North after being found with 600 grams of hashish in possession in Negombo today. The value of the stash of hashish is estimated to be worth around 7.8 million rupees. The suspects purportedly smuggled hashish from Italy via an airmail service and concealed it inside electronic appliances. The packages were distributed in Negombo and Kuliapitiya areas through local courier services.
And with that, we cross over to a short commercial break. Stay tuned.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is Ada Derana 24.
Now on to one of our headline making news. The S&P SL20 marked its largest daily loss in points in the history of the Colombo Bourse today, mainly due to the significant price drop seen in Sampath Bank subsequent to its rights issue announcement. The index recorded a loss of 3.72%, losing 110.87 points at 2,868.04. Meanwhile, the all-share price index closed in red at 5,754.31 points, which is the largest daily drop in 5 years. Following the rights to issue announcement of Sampath Bank, the share price dropped by 36 rupees and 20 cents, which is a loss of 15.61%. Yesterday, shares of Sampath Bank traded at 195 rupees and 70 cents. According to the corporate disclosure dated yesterday, it was recommended by the board to issue 89 million new ordinary voting shares by way of rights issue at 136 rupees per share. Sampath Bank went on to say that the proceeds of the issue will be used to increase the Tier 1 capital of the bank to comply with Basel III requirements. Now, in this backdrop, Union Bank, Ceylon Bank and Amana Bank were the only three financial institutions that were spared from the drop in share prices. Let's now take a look at how the Colombo Bourse performed during the week.
During the week, the ASPI lost 1.4%. Similarly, the S&P SL20 decreased by 3.7%. The average daily turnover for the week was up from last week to nearly 759 million rupees. Furthermore, foreigners remained active for the week, closing as net buyers, where foreign purchasers accounted for nearly 47% of the total weekly turnover. A net foreign outflow of 498 million rupees was recorded for the week.
Maersk, the world's biggest container shipping line, plans to increase its container handling in Sri Lanka. Its chief executive officer, Sovereign, called on President Maithripala Sirisena at the presidential secretariat today and briefed him on the expansion plans of its container handling in the island. During the talks, President Sirisena said that the government would facilitate multinational companies to expand container transshipment through the Colombo port, as that will be of immense help to Sri Lanka's economy. Maersk handles 20% of the 20-foot equivalent unit containers at the Colombo port and a big chunk of Sri Lanka's import and export freight. An event to launch national quality-related publications with the National Metrology Institute of Germany, the PTB, was launched yesterday in line with the framework of the EU-Sri Lanka Trade-Related Assistance Project. The event was held under the patronage of Non-Cabinet Minister of Science, Technology and Research Sujeeva Senasinghe, EU Ambassador to Sri Lanka Tung Lai Marg and German Ambassador to Sri Lanka Jon Rode.
As already was mentioned, the national export strategy is indeed part of the comprehensive EU-Sri Lanka trade-related assistance project, an €8 million project initiated on a request made specifically by the Sri Lankan government. Opportunities provided by the new and dynamic global trading environment have fueled the need for Sri Lanka to formulate policies that center on assisting trade and improving competitiveness. The technical report on mapping of Sri Lanka's legal and institutional frameworks for food safety has been drafted through the EU-Sri Lanka Trade-Related Assistance Project that I just mentioned, with its co-implementing partner UNIDO, by ensuring safer products for the citizens of Sri Lanka, by improving environmental protection, by improving health checks, for instance, test and calibration of medical equipment, pharmaceutical analysis or accreditation of clinical laboratories, by helping to ensure evidence-based judiciary decisions, for instance, through forensic testing. This will also assist the industry to comply with local and foreign market requirements, as well as help increasing the quality and safety of products and services. I would like to take this opportunity to encourage the efforts to establish the National Quality Council in the near future.
We have even proposed for the budget to give a concession for companies which would invest in innovation, to give them at least a tax rebate or a tax refund, a triple tax refund. So if we go by the best practices and kind of sort of arrange a system that we can accept standards from other institutions, I think that would give us a huge boost for our exports and our small industries. And we have done a lot, even though we don't feel this. The economy is strengthening, the exports have risen, so we are on the right direction. And we are in the process of computerizing all our state organizations as well.
On international business news, the Chief Executive Officer of the London Stock Exchange Group, David Schwimmer, announced a round of job cuts today as the board prepares for Brexit after delivering annual results that met expectations. Schwimmer, who took over the reins at the stock exchange last August, said businesses, including those perceived to be most exposed to Britain's impending exit from the European Union, such as clearing, continue to perform well with no change in market position. The exchange said it would cut 250 staff this year to generate £30 million in annual savings, but that it would not meet its target of core earning margin of about 55% this year as it spends on the business. The boost was already putting in place plans in case Britain leaves the European Union with no deal next month to avoid potential disruptions to markets. With that, let's now take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies around the world. Well, with that, we cross over to short commercial breaks. Make sure you stay tuned.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is Other Derana 24. This is breaking news on Other Derana 24.
Now, India's wait for the return of Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman is over as he crossed the border into India just moments ago. Pakistan delayed the handover twice, and according to Indian broadcaster NDTV, procedural delays were cited for the hold-up as Indians across the country eagerly awaited to catch a glimpse of the captured pilot. The capture of the pilot came about when Pakistan shot down 2 Indian jets in retaliation of an Indian airstrike on Pakistan territory. India's airstrike was in response to a suicide bomb attack in the disputed Kashmir region, which killed 40 Indian paramilitary personnel. Once again, the breaking news now. The India's wait for the return of Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman is over as he just crossed the border into India just a few moments ago. Now, Pakistan delayed the handover twice, and according to Indian broadcaster NDTV, procedural delays were cited for the hold-up as Indians across the country eagerly awaited to catch a glimpse of the captured pilot. The capture of the pilot came about when Pakistan shot down 2 Indian jets in retaliation of an Indian airstrike on Pakistan territory. India's airstrike was in response to a suicide bomb attack in the disputed Kashmir region, which killed 40 Indian paramilitary personnel. The United States is offering a reward of up to $1 million for information about one of the sons of the late Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden. According to the US State Department, Hamza bin Laden is emerging as a leader of the Islamist militant group and is thought to be based near the Afghan-Pakistani border. Now, in recent years, he has released audio and video messages calling on followers to attack the US and its Western allies in revenge for his father's killing. The State Department further added that when his father was killed, items seized from his hiding place in Pakistan indicated he was grooming Hamza bin Laden to replace him as the leader of the terror group. In 2011, US Special Forces killed Osama bin Laden in a compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. On to sports news. Minister of Sports Harin Fernando emphasises that a proposed draft will be presented to Parliament to impose a 5-year prison sentence to those who are engaged in match fixing. Speaking at a media briefing held yesterday, he further said that this kind of law is introduced for the first time in Asia.
Sri Lankan sports is a topic of discussion in all parts of the world today. The ICC banned a beloved cricketer in the country. We have a big responsibility because the sportsmen have become professionals and now they will not play if they're not paid well. The Attorney General's department has done all necessary preparations to bring a draft to the Parliament that a 5-year-long prison sentence will be imposed on any sportsman who is found guilty of match fixing. This might get delayed due to the budget, but we will do this soon. It will be the first time that such a law would be introduced in Asia.
Attorney at Law Krishma Varnasuriya is critical of the conduct of the International Cricket Council when inquiring former Sri Lanka fast bowler Nuwan Zoysa. Speaking on behalf of the former bowling coach of Sri Lanka, he expressed displeasure over the manner in which he was forcibly taken for questioning and interrogating him in English language when it is not his mother tongue.
One remains committed to uproot corruption from Sri Lanka cricket, and all those charges raised against him were unfair and we have denied them, and we are now in the process of facing an ICC inquiry against that. The manner that he was almost abducted against his will, the manner of questioning him in English language when that was not his mother tongue, not allowing him to even speak to his wife in Sinhalese when he wanted to make a call, not allowing him to have legal assistance during that inquiry. All of that we believe are unlawful under Sri Lankan law, and against that we have now gone to the Court of Appeal to ask the Sri Lanka cricket to formulate a procedure under which Sri Lanka cricketers or officials can be subject to ICC inquiries, because whilst there is an agreement between ICC and Sri Lanka cricket to follow the anti-corruption code, one needs to make a procedure so that people like Nuwan will even in the future not be unfairly prejudiced or unfairly harassed or subject to victimization when such inquiries are carried out. Nuwan today is without a job. His contract with Sri Lanka cricketers terminated prematurely only based on the fact that ICC raised certain charges. No hearing by Sri Lanka cricket. Our Sri Lankan stars are now brought to the level of having to sell their own vehicle to live their daily lives, and that's a pathetic state that Sri Lanka cricket has fallen. These people must be given a chance to clear their names. You must be told the charges that are before you. You must be given an opportunity, a fair opportunity to defend those charges, and then if you're found guilty, then you can take action against you. Without any of that, this man is terminated and he goes home.
On to some tennis news now. Roger Federer overcame Martin Fucsovics 7-6-6-4 yesterday to reach the semi-finals of the Dubai Tennis Championships. The Swiss was pushed by Hungarian world number 35 but battled past him in 1 hour 57 minutes. If Federer wins an 8th title in Dubai, he will become just the second player to win 100 single titles after American Jimmy Connors, who has 109 titles under his name. The 20-time Grand Slam winner, who is seeking his 100th ATP title, next takes on the 6th seed Borna Coric in the last 4.
Game, set a match, Federer. 7-6.
And with that, we conclude this edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.